change what I've been trying to say. Words don't come straight from my head to my mouth. It's such a shame that it fell out of place. Was never me that was bringing you down. Why we always looking for more? Why we always looking for more? Why we always looking for more? I wish that I could change what you wanted. I wish that I could change what you wanted. I wish that I could change what you wanted. I wish that I could change what you wanted. I wish that I could change what you wanted. I wish that I could change what you wanted. I wish that I could change what you wanted. I wish that I could change what you Why we always looking for more? Why we always looking for more?
watching the ocean with you. Baby, up with a slow motion crew. And we up in our cloudlands when people change, but not us. And we just chillin', kicking it, kissed by the sun. Could be soaked to the skin in the mall soon. I know she got the good vibes when seasons change, but we're the same. Even if I lost all my money, the zero runs deep, honey. And I don't need to speak a single word, 'cause you got me holding, holding. Even if my jokes aren't funny, my tongue tied up on it. And I don't need to speak a single word, 'cause you got me holding, holding. 'Cause you got me holding, holding.
kill the operation. It ain't fair, but I feel it with the nation. So raise the flag and do the preparation. Welcome to reality, there's no way back. Welcome to reality. Can't fuck with that. On top like forever, man. This is hard fucking beeping after aliens. We on top of the world, we the sapiens. Do you understand massive complication there? Do you really think you know what I'm made of? My flow is so magical, I'm old, call me Gandalf. You can shine, but I'm about to go off. Heard me wanna believe what I'm saying, but I cannot do this at all. Welcome to reality, there's no way back. 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 I wanna be delivered to the rod. Mama said you're meant to burn as bright as a star among the midnight sky.
Ladies and gentle hands, welcome back to the Wild Goose Chase League. I am Swan, joined tonight by my co-caster Interritus, and we have a wonderful quarterfinals matchup coming out to you right now. It's going to be Whimpy and Co tonight facing the Come Up. How you feeling about tonight's matchup, Interritus?
Should be an interesting one. It's that ex-Arial Rise roster, and so some players that you should be able to recognize, and some players you should expect a lot from, and Come Up a team that we've kind of at least myself here, Swan, have seen in the last couple of weeks a bunch of times. They've had their ups and downs, but for the most part, they've been a pretty solid roster.
That's I think what's going to make tonight's matchup really, really strong. Arial Rise, at least this ex-Arial Rise roster, has of course been strong throughout the entire series so far, and with that, I think it's going to kind of be a battle of the Titans. Come up on a little bit of a hot streak. You said they had their ups and downs, but facing a pretty seasoned team that is the Arial Rise, or once again, formal Arial Rise roster, it is going to be kind of a battle of the best. And this is a quarterfinals match, plenty on the line as we move to the bracket here.
Yep, and some of the games that we expect to see is obviously going to be the one we're watching tonight. It's that ex-Arial Rise, now Whimpy and Co. Versus Come Up. You get SSG Academy versus Wanted Goons. That's not the Academy, I'm pretty sure. That's just the main. Team Valkyrie versus Final Family, and Wanted Goons ACAD versus, oh god, what's the last one?
Is that Ubuntu?
I think that's Ubuntu. Yeah, that's what it was. I couldn't because they had changed names somewhat recently, so I did end up forgetting. But some good games, honestly. They're a bunch of really good teams. And I really don't know which way I'm really swaying here, Swan.
And that's going to be kind of what it comes down to. I think this is a pretty evenly matched game, but
Yeah.
let's take a look at the rosters here real quick before we get into it. On the very long roster that is Whimpy and Co., we of course see Wumpo, Bino, Bay, Enrio, Whimpy himself, Turbo, Woos, Rethinkin, and Sneeze. But if I can find who's actually playing tonight, I believe tonight's roster for Whimpy and Co. is going to be Enrio, Bino, Rethinkin, Whimpy, and Turbo.
Yeah, and a very solid one. Obviously, they just came off of playing Tier 2. And so they're going to be a team that is going to be incredibly solid versus Come Up, which is a team that I expect a lot out of. Like I said, I've been watching in the last couple of weeks, but they've also been playing a lot of Tier 2 teams recently, Swan, both between here and XGS. I mean, they were just recently played Valkyrie, a team that didn't sweep them. I was a little surprised to see, but we're going to go ahead and look at the roster real quick. It's going to be Nilek, Clutter, Mike W, Snoopy, Spiff, Rival, Joe, and Final Boss. But actually playing tonight is going to be Nilek, Joe, Finns, Mike W, and Slothy. The last time they actually played that Valkyrie team, this is the roster they came out with, and they were very solid.
And that's exactly what it's going to come down to. Kind of just the difference between these teams, see who's potentially in the more comfortable lineup. But more importantly now, on more comfortable maps. So let's take a look at the map bans really quick here. And we were kind of talking about it before this game even started, but these are some pretty interesting bans that came out. I think we finally ended up on a game starting on Cafe. That's been kind of a comfort zone for Arial Arise. They had a not necessarily decisive victory, but comfortable lead over SSG ACAD in the former ZCL. And for the Come Up, rather, they chose to kind of pick Arial Rise's Kryptonite moving after that onto Bank, which is a map that they've struggled on continuously.
And then it ended up being finished out by Clubhouse. We were talking a little bit before this game that I expected it to really be Chalet because that's a game, or a map, excuse me, that Come Up is incredibly strong on. Every single time I've done it, they've been playing incredibly solid, and they're also bringing out a lot of stuff that I really just haven't seen before, kind of swapping it up. And so I was a little surprised not to see that, but we'll be ended up with the decider being Clubhouse, excuse me, if we can actually make it there.
I think you touched on a little bit once again before this game started of talking about that VOD review and that information game and maybe trying to avoid that because they have an idea that Arial Rise might be looking into that. But I think finally now we're ready to get started on our first map of Cafe as we get into the operator bans moving in here between Whimpy and Co. versus the Come Up.
What do you expect to see here, Swan? I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if we get some pretty standard Dokebi Ying, maybe a Fenrir, maybe a Mira. Anything you're really looking out for?
I think something a lot of teams like to ban on this map starting on the defense is the Azami. You kind of called it there, a very typical ban, the Ying, the Dokubi, those are to be pretty expected. Having those applications specifically for those Candelas kind of allows you to gap areas like Piano, Skylight, even get into areas like Bakeries. So that's a stock standard ban, makes plenty of sense for both of these teams. For the second attacker ban, like I said, would expect the Dokubi, but there's a lot of other picks on the board.
Yeah, I mean, like you said, it's to be expected. It's kind of something that we've gotten used to is that Ying Dokebi, but defender bans have started kind of changing up. I honestly wouldn't be surprised, like you said, the Azami ban. She's incredibly powerful in there in Piano, and being able to get rid of that just off the ban pick makes it a lot easier, but it's going to be Valkyrie off the board. One that I didn't mention, but I'm not surprised about. She's incredibly good with the information gathering, and just being able to get rid of her, just because all of like those cabinets and stuff. A lot of players like to drop a cam into cabinet, and so that they can get a real cheeky cam out, but they're not going to be able to do that anymore, so Solus is going to fall off the board, and that Azami is still going to be available.
I like those defensive operator bans nonetheless. Try and control that information game. That's going to be especially important for Whimpy and Co. here, as they are starting out on the attack, and I think Cafe is certainly one of those maps where having that information game on the board allows you to implement that verticality on the defense that we typically see teams try and work around. There are some alternatives like the Maestro potentially that you could bring, but instead we got a couple other power defenders on the lineup for the defense so far. That is in the hands of the Azami and the Fenrir.
Many bombs as they can.
Don't forget, they have that Warden. He's not on the board anymore, so you can't just force him to play solo. You're gonna have to do grenading him out, or just trying to get rid of that shield and taking the fight. But he can't be flashed. Something you're not gonna be able to use.
Razor wire ready. Anybody need a
So they're definitely going to make it a little bit of an issue to try and lock down some of those positions, potentially have him holding in pretty common areas like Pixel, potentially looking toward that Heaven area as well, but you said it yourself, with the Ying off the board, flashbangs are still going to be an issue they are looking to try avoid contending with. So we start moving in here, though. The attacking lineup is seemingly not very poised for all the utility that they're bringing. Actually, the opposite of that is what I meant to say, as they're bringing the Brava. Brava is a very common operator we've seen a lot of attacking teams begin to start bringing, and I think it really kind of leans into specifically the Fenrir that's trying to control the area of Red Stairs, Ticket, and Piano that come up is setting up.
I remember when she first actually came out, Swan, that a lot of people were trashing on her because they were like, "Oh, she's useless. You just shoot the cam, or the drone, excuse me." But just being able to just get, like, even if you don't end up being able to use that utility, removing it from the defenders for one ability use is incredibly powerful. As they're gonna go ahead and get rid of one of the Fenrirs, but something I noted before the game, that a zombie is still on the board. They're going to be able to use it in Piano, and they're going to have to deal with it as 2 Fenrirs are going to be off the board early.
That is going to kind of be the iron wall here for the come-up, as it seems this is a heavier Piano presence than we see a lot of teams go for, or not necessarily heavier than we see a lot of teams go for. It just seems to be the take here for Whimpy and co. And they really have the utility to deal with it. There hasn't been any nade or utility denial brought that is going to rip those Kibas off the board pretty swiftly as they fall back into bathroom, but Whimpy himself finds the first kill of this match onto Fens. A wonderful headshot to start things off.
And then Iron Wall that you were talking about is gone as well. Sophia's going to be able to clear it along with that player sitting inside. And Fens is off the board. They don't have those heals anymore. As one of those flashes we were talking about is going to go out, it's going to clear them out of Pixel. But they haven't been able to retake the spaces. Rethink is just walking in.
The barbed wire being a saving grace. Mike picks up 2, bringing it back now in favor of the defenders. A little bit of a loss of position. It's 3 for Mike. A very strong start to this match. He seemingly can't be stopped. Turbo now locked inside a Ticket, trading some shots out with Bathroom. Not quite able to connect him as he's left on just a sliver of HP. Whimpy comes behind him to join him, trying to find that support, but Mike walks up for the 4th, and Joe's quickly following behind. It's come up with a very decisive first round.
I like to see what was actually coming out of Whimpy and co. But they had 5 players playing Piano and no one on that balcony. Or not the balcony, excuse me, my brain's not working. The sunlight
Headlight?
window. Headlight, thank you. I could not think of the word. Look, it's hard, okay, Swan. Anyway. But yeah, they didn't have anyone up there. And that's just one of the places where you can use to clear that corner that Mike was sitting in. He was able to just sit there for free and pick up 4 kills. Beautiful first one. And then he just kind of stomped them right there. And they did a really good job of taking space. They just got shut down by Mike W sitting right there because, like I said, they didn't have anyone up there to hold him.
I think you're exactly right on that. They, of course, wanted that Piano control. A lot of teams opt to go for that. It allows you to get these long, deep angles into sight. It's the stock standard take for the objective, but you have to find areas to alleviate that pressure off that main area. And you said it yourself. Skylight would be a great application of that, potentially going on that Heaven window, getting some cross pressure there. Even furthermore on that, you have the area of the White window, hop up on AC and pressure Pixel, and it seems that they just really weren't quite aware of that idea, or at least weren't going for that, and they had a lot of utility and pressure focused toward this main take, and it kind of led to nothing. They were walking into the brick wall that was the come-up, and kind of got knocked in the face for it.
Yeah, I mean, they, like I said earlier, they did a good job of clearing it, but it wasn't just the zombies. They also had the bathroom player that was sitting. The bathroom player that they were sitting there. That Whimpy was able to clear, but he got someone got reassigned to that position, and they didn't have like a whole lot of spread. It was just a real default take, or a real direct take, excuse me. And it's fine if you're winning the gunfights in the first one, but they couldn't clear out Mike W. They didn't have anyone to stop him, and even if you ended up taking all that space, if you just lose it via no trades, I mean, he really shouldn't have been able to get that triple kill right there without getting traded. They tried to re-swing, but he was just able to find those picks and really just kind of be the iron wall that you were saying for in the front of Come Up's defense.
And no matter how much you try and account for it, you really can't predict like a 4K coming out from a single player.
No,
You can't really
no, you
prepare
cannot.
for that. So not only did I think the position there was a struggle, but letting Mike W run rampant across your entire attack is also just an issue. And I think playing for trades there in the future, trying to make sure you have somebody set up behind them in a position that's going to set up an advantageous trade, because they were trying to find this presence together. There was somebody who dropped, I'm not quite sure who it was that dropped red first. It was the Brava. I can't quite remember who it was, but they felt first contact with Mike W, trying to get a position in sight, and then it seemed, although the trades were trying to come through, it was this trickle-down effect through the red hatch, just one by one, giving him 1v1s, setting him up for pre-fires, and things of the sort like that, that allow him to get off scot-free, taking very little damage, and eventually picking off 4 of your players. So just keeping that in mind moving forward, they had a very nice strategy. It's just kind of ironing out some of those kinks and kind of reading into how the come-up is going to play.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if I would say incredibly strong. It was just a direct take. I mean, they didn't have any pressure anywhere else. They weren't phantom pressuring anything. At the very least, if you're going to do that, either you go fast and blitz them, which they really didn't do. They didn't start dropping red until about like 2:15, if not later than that. And they didn't have a white window open. They didn't have anyone trying to clear out right there on the chassis inside of bar. It was just rough. I mean, there was a lot of sloppiness that I really don't expect from a team like Whimpy and Co.
And unfortunately, that's just sometimes what happens. Round 1, you have plenty of time to try and gain that momentum back. Just try and be aware of these positions once more. And while we have the chance, I really quick want to touch on the Siege Double Shot has let me know that all donations, Twitch subs, any revenue made from this stream is going directly to the unpaid admins of the Zenith Competitive League. So if you have given anything, are planning to give anything, or not, or just watching, we appreciate you nonetheless for supporting the stream, and more importantly, supporting the admins of ZCL.
And you can't see it, but I'm actually doing a heart right now. just a little heart. But yeah, as we're gonna go back to game here, I expect a little bit of a change up here, Swan. I would like to see a little bit more slow and methodical. Not something I really see too much from these players. But if they can rein them back in, clear out everything, get these floor holes opened, I think once they finally start their final push, if they can not fall into the trap that was Mike W in that first round, they have a very high chance of winning this. But that's not to say that Come Up is a roster that was just given the win. They did a good job of setting themselves up to be able to get that last one, and we're going to see if they can do the same thing in this one.
Trying to repeat the process as we head down to the first floor now of Kitchen and Dining. Or Kitchen and Prep, rather. Ooh. I know my sites. I'm a Siege caster. Nonetheless, talking about that alternative pressure, it doesn't look like that Whimpy & Co. is playing for that verticality we see a lot of teams go for. Try and opening that hatch, try and instead open areas above prep, and try and look for those picks and those cutoffs to try and gain entry onto site. It's looking like a pretty direct setup, although they do have some different pressure. Areas like Bakery, heading toward that service entrance as well. As a run out from Slothy, isn't going to find anything, catches him on cams though, and sneaks back inside. A great start off for the Come Up once again.
I'm going to see if they can't find a trade back, but it's going to be Turbo to find the first one, or to fall as well. Finn's going to be able to find him. That's a kill over on VIP section. Another iron wall that Come Up has been doing really well at setting up. It's going to be the Warden trying to jump out. Mike W getting aggressive, but it's going to be Finn's to fall first if they lose that VIP control.
It's now kind of up to Come Up here to control the rest of the pace of this round. They've gotten their first few picks, and that's going to help them out a little bit more. Slothy with 2 now. Nice little pre-fire there, and now Whimpy & Co. really has nothing. Another pick, and in fact, it's going to be the rest of them as Come Up swiftly takes control of this next round.
And, I mean, it's been a little bit rough for Whimpy & Co. so far. I mean, they've been trying to do these really aggressive plays, and it's what I expect. Like I said earlier, it's what I expect out of these kind of players, but it's not working. You're playing Cafe, one of the maps that's known to kind of be this methodical clear, starting from the top floor and walking down. and they aren't doing it. They're direct taking twice in a row. They're not getting those floor holes open like I said they should have at the beginning of the round. I don't really know what they're doing right now, what these calls are making. I don't know if they're just egoing and saying, hey, we don't know who these kids are, which honestly they really should be. These are players that they've played before. But they need to step it up and kind of get rid of these sloppy plays that they've been doing.
They're playing right into the hand of come up in these past 2 rounds. So, of course, like I said, plenty of game left to try and learn, try to adapt, but making that same mistake twice is not something we would really expect out of a roster like Whimpy and Co. There's a lot of pretty seasoned players there who should kind of know better, especially on a map like Cafe that you said yourself, kind of work your way top down. Don't go for these direct takes and push this immense amount of utility and presence on site that obviously isn't working. If you're getting picks and trying to open up some of that pressure, it makes sense. But especially for an area like this mid-floor site that we're seeing in this 3rd round, you really need to find control on all floors in the map that aren't the objective. And we're going to see Turbo try and do that right now.
As Turbo's just going to get shut down by Mike before he falls to rethinking. And that's the first time that Mike's been traded so far this game. They finally found it, but he's still incredibly aggressive. He was able to take out that buck. They're not going to be able to open as many of the floor holes as they want to. Actually, they really can't. I don't think there's any shotguns on the board. So this is going to be a really rough one if they're trying to take a 3rd floor take.
Rethinking able to pick up a quick second. Now 2 minutes left on the clock, and they do have a little bit of substantial progress upstairs, or have the opportunity to gain substantial progress upstairs. Slothy playing upstairs in this freezer position. They have players all over this top floor right now. It's going to be, I believe that is Whimpy himself trying to push up on red, and as well as the support from Rethinkin. That could open up a lot of space on that top floor to work their way down that we were talking about earlier.
And they're going to be working their way through. So Wimpy's walking upstairs, but he's might just walk into Slothy, but it's finally a player right there to the skylight that I was asking for. Fins gets siege timinged. And the flash goes out, but it's going to be Finn falling, and only one player alive, Joe, to hold it together for come up. Whimpy and Co. looking like they're going to be picking up their 1st round. And Joe's going to have to hold it alive as Interritus is going to be putting down this plant, but Joe's going to put down Whimpy before Bino finally finishes him off. And Whimpy and Co. is going to pick up their 1st round.
A little bit of a change of pace there. What we really wanted to see and, well, expected to see from them. It seems they finally got this notion in their head of, okay, we know Mike W is going to be aggressive. We can afford to try and take some of that early space, but we need to be able to set up these cutoffs and trades. And I really liked what Turbo and Rethinkin did there. It was Turbo who pushed in Bakery, and while he was alone, and that's not necessarily what you want, he forced Mike W up those red stairs, and while he lost his gunfight, it put Rethinkin in an advantageous position to trade that, and that's really something we hadn't seen them go for so far. All of their previous trade attempts seemed pretty separated, or at least off timing with one another, and now it seems they're finally working as a cohesive unit, which allowed them to get control of that top floor, not a worry in the world, and then start working their way towards site, eventually leading to pick by pick, winning the round for themselves.
I want to highlight something you just said. You mentioned that they were off timing, and I was trying to, like, while we were playing, I was trying to, like, think of how I was feeling about those last 2 rounds, and I think that's the perfect note. Every single time that they've tried to do something, whether it be go for a trade in those first 2 rounds, try to take that space, it always felt like they were either off timing or come up was just faster than them. That last round, it felt a lot better, and I definitely feel like they're going to kind of pick up a few rounds here if they can keep that up.
Oh my god, Mike. Look at this man.
Mike is insane. Yeah, Mike is crazy.
He's looking for anything. I'm pretty sure
he's
gone the opening pick every round thus far?
Yes, he has, but he also has gone for a run out every single round so far. Except no, he didn't do the first one.
Whimpy might be playing right into his hand here. Looking like a pretty similar take to what we saw last time as they shift back up to this top floor for the come up. hopefully going to be learning from some of the mistakes they made on last, and it looks like they will. Whimpy heating that pressure toward those white windows, more importantly that center window, as well as rethinking, as you were looking for last time they were on this objective, playing that skylight, even if it is for that phantom pressure, dropping a Flores drone down, as well as this barriers, the Kiba barricades we saw being broken very swiftly once again, and they're kind of constricting the come up here deeper into the objective.
And they're seeing if they can't, come up is seeing if they can't find anything right now, as they, like you said, are continuously being pushed back. Finns is going to get flashed out, but he's still playing off of this zombie barrier. With that shotgun, another flash is going to go out, but Slothy's going to fall on the other side of the map. A grenade to follow, and he's going to get finished off. As Finns is looking to see if he can't find one of his own, but Rethink is going to find two! Only two more left alive on the board, but Mike W is still alive and dangerous.
He's going to be the player they're going to have to account for. This is kind of their saving grace right now. I'm not sure if they even know where Mike W's at. So he's got a sneaky position. They are going to slow down. This is something I like from them. Try and change up the pace. Make sure they get that information all the way through. And there's just so many players that they have to look out for. Mike able to pick up one, trying to bring it back a little bit. That is that skylight pressure removed. And he and Nylike are going to have to work off of each other here and try and secure trades as much as possible. Two now tying it up evenly, and it looks like they're bringing something back from nothing here. Whimpy and Co. feeding them 1v1s again, and now Nylike and Mike W, 50 seconds left on the clock. All they have to do is play the waiting game. The case not in the hand of either attacker so far. It's going to be down in the middle of sight, and thus they're going to have to start pushing in. Whimpy working up on this heaven position, knows that Mike W's stuck on that reinforcement, but unsure of where Nylek may have ran off to, and they're trying to pinch him out right now. Turbo is going to start making progress toward this diffuser, not quite able to pick up the kill though onto Nylek, and it's going to be the saving grace, Mike W and Nylek, to make a 5v2 come to life.
I'm really afraid for this Whimpy and Co roster right now, because it kind of just feels like they aren't respecting come up. You can't just go into these fights and start the round incredibly well, like you're saying, kind of constricting them like a snake, and then just throw that away to take these solo fights. I will give it to, I believe it was the Nomad on Skylight who died because they were walking past. That's okay. Like, it happens. Your head's above a little bit too far. But the rest of them were just taking individual fights. They were looking to see if they can't clear out Mike W. Like you said, they knew where they were. They were paying him. And instead of just crouch walking up the bar because you don't know where the other one is, trying to get closer, he decided to swing Freezer and take a solo fight against Nylek, and it just didn't work out. Like I said, I really just don't think they're respecting come up here, and it's costing them rounds. They're throwing away bodies where they shouldn't be, and come up's just letting it happen. They're abusing these mistakes that Whimpy is making, and it's not like it's like a whole round thing. They started out most rounds pretty well, and then they'll get to a point and just start throwing bodies, and it's just not working.
I think that story holds true across the board so far. Heading back down to the first floor, what we saw them do last time on this site is I love the phrase you used, just not respecting come up, and that is something we perfectly saw on this objective. They were peeking reception into Slothy, it wasn't working out for them, they just tried to waltz in bakery, and I think you really have to slow down and try and become aware. But on the topic of slowing down, a Blitz and a Lion looks like that may not be in the works. That first EDD is going to go off. It is going to be Bino, rather, swiftly through the door, excuse me. Enrio's gonna fall quickly as well, or rather, they're gonna pick up 2 picks, that is, for Whimpy and Co. And your Blitz is going to be down, but now you have a very, very strong position. You've gotten into the first set of bakery, and now it's up to slowing down and repositioning yourself.
I don't know if you're going to agree with me here, Swan, but I really like that swing from Nylek. Even though it ended up losing his body, it makes it so much easier for them to find Bino, but the jump out from Slothy's not going to work, as Mike's going to find one before getting traded out, and it's all up to Finns, but he's going to get shot in the back, and they're going to take him. Like I was saying, Swan, I really like that swing coming out from Nylek there. I think it was a good job. If he had been able to pick it up for them, that would have pretty fairly shut down Whimpy and Co.'s setup, because they were relying on that blitz to get them through, and it just kind of fell apart when he wasn't able to find that kill.
100%. I think Dialect Swing there would have been the saving grace, would have been kind of the shutdown that wouldn't have let them reset and kind of kept that pressure on. But I do really like that strategy from Wimpy and Co. It's something you touched on, I think, as we shifted out of the first round of if you're going to be aggressive, commit to the idea of being aggressive. You can't go, oh, we're going to have an aggressive take. We're going to face check everything and try and just run into the objective. And with that, they pretty much adapted to that perfectly of, okay, we want to be aggressive. We're going to bring the Lion. We're going to bring the Blitz. We're going to stack up on this doorway and make sure that we set up trades and, more importantly, get in the face of the come-up so they don't control the pace of this map.
Real quick, I saw a thing while we were sitting here watching this. They have a rotate right there at double door going into kitchen. That just kind of confuses me. They're not really playing in that hallway right there. They have one player playing out of coat check, but is the point to be able to rotate between from back like garbage?
I mean, I guess, right?
But you can see it from main breach.
I don't really know. Now that you mentioned, that kind of confounds me as well.
Yeah,
I'm not
yeah,
sure what the purpose of that is.
I don't know. Because you can see it if you go left side of main breach, left side from inside kitchen, so right for them.
Nonetheless, here, speaking of kitchen, Come Up's gonna try and run it back, bringing the Blitz again, opting to try and find maybe a different in this time as they start shifting toward that service entrance. And we really didn't get to see much of Come Up's strategy on this site last round, as it was a very quick hit from Whimpy and Co. But potentially, the utility here from the Azami, and more importantly, I think the Frost could shut that down. Rethinking finds one, but it's a swift response from the Come Up to shift it back in their favor.
So far, Come Up has been incredibly agile as they've been able to retake any space that was ended up lost. As Bino's going to find some space in Bakery, he's going to take a little bit of damage, but it's not going to take him off the board. So Zami's just going to be holding them down on red, waiting to see if she can't get a kill. But it's going to be Joe to get the first one onto Wimpy. Mike's going to follow up another one. It's all up to Inrio here. He's stuck in a 1v4, and he's going to have to look for 4 bodies. Looking for these individual fights. He's going to find the first one on the Fins. Checks his corners, but no one's there looking for him. They're all kind of waiting back. They're not going to make the same mistake that Fins did make. As one's going to swing, it's going to be Joe to swing up, but Slothy's going to find it. And they're going to find themselves another round.
I like the Jack-in-the-Box Joe there hiding behind the sink. Literally just waiting for Slothy to come around so he could pop up and then Slothy could find the swing. That was a really nice little play there from them. And once again, Wimpy and Co. kind of stumbles into that late round. We saw a similar story. They kind of shifted the perspective this time, moved toward that service entrance, eventually coming all the way roundabout, though, to have that Blitz come through Bakery. And it comes back to kind of what we talked about and what worked for them, of if you want to be aggressive, then be aggressive. You can't have your Blitz rotating around the map, just shifting that noise, that information. I understand the idea of wanting to have phantom pressure or the threat of something, but if you don't provide any tangible offense there, it's eventually just going to lead to another gap for them to kind of just leave sitting there and shift toward where you're actually pushing.
No, I mean, I definitely agree. And one thing that I really would like to see coming out of Come Up here on this half is white window getting open. I don't think I saw it get open one single time that Come Up went upstairs.
I think you're right. I don't think they've
touched it
at all. They've been really focused on trying to take piano and like using the skylight pressure, but the AC angle looking toward Pixel, as well as that white window looking toward bathroom and pallets, are super strong power positions that would completely throw in a wrench in the plans of Wimpy and Co. We saw how powerful those rotates were on the side of last half when it was Come Up's defense. And now, if they can abuse that, as they've noticed on Wimpy and Co.'s defense, it could be the gap they need to really take off on their attacking half.
Yeah, and also with how much Come Up was actually playing out of Freezer, it was weird to see the cocktail window not get played off of. Because, I mean, we saw Mike W. open it, so we know it got opened at some point. They just never really put a body on that side of the building. And so I'd really like to see that come out of Come Up on this half to kind of show them, hey, Wimpy, here's how you actually attack Cafe. As Slothy's looking to see if he can't get in, if he can find this mute jammer. make his job a lot easier, as Inrio's potentially looking to do a run out.
A lot of fear in the world. Both these teams so aggressive. He is going to spot the player on the white window. Not quite able to land the shots he needs to take him out, but a little bit of damage there onto Nilek. Stacking up on red. They know Inrio was downstairs, and they're going to make sure that flank watch is covered because Inrio obviously wants it. Is going to get spotted out, but he's going to play a more passive position, and this is exactly what we needed here from the come-up. Trying to find those cross angles, and more importantly, use those windows. Whimpy catching from damage from, I believe that was the white window. And now, it's kind of a waiting game. They want to find Inrio, they're trying to set up their execute.
The minute and a half the board, I really like this play from Inrio. He's just standing there and waiting, but he's getting that phantom pressure that we've been talking about of, hey, I could walk up red stairs. Wimpy's over on white stairs as well, make it dangerous for him, but Rethinking's going to lose his life as Slothy's going to find it. And they're going to find a little bit of space inside of Piano, something they've been looking to do for the last 2 minutes. Only a minute off left on the board, and that optimal time to start the actual site push is coming up. They've only got 8 seconds, and they've got to make it work.
Here's the flank from Inrio we talked about. The ace in the hold here for Whimpy and Co. If he can find just a couple of picks even, this could be the shutdown impression that they need. Picks up his first on the 9 leg, and he's going to rotate off, not wanting to give much of anything up as the timer continues to tick down. That's more pressure on Joe and more pressure for the entirety of the come up. They are forced to take space. Mike W. using those standing bull, trying to force Bino. He's done but a sliver of HP and being thrown across. Bino takes down Joe, and now Whimpy and Co. with the man advantage. Still not enough space for the come up to really do anything. Nice free fire from W opens up that cocktail side, and Inrio and Whimpy are going to put up the white stairs. Finally, got a cycle they need. Met with the mirror window, and it ends left on his lonesome as the Whimpy and Co. look entirely different on the defense.
Yeah, they look a lot more solid, and I mean, you can attribute that around to a lot of different things, but I think the biggest factor was something we pointed out was Inrio just sitting first floor, walking up red stairs eventually at about a minute 15. He did an incredible job of roaming. You don't see mute roam very often because of that C4, but because of how much floor is open on that, you can C4 underneath, and so he felt pretty comfortable sitting on that first and second floor, waiting for the post plant. And being able to just walk up red stairs at the optimal point right before they were about to start pushing their way in through site and try to get this bomb down, they got shut down. Joe had to either push forward or walk back, and he tried to get his way forward, but he really couldn't do anything. And Enrio was already gone. He couldn't find that trade, and so it was just a rough round for come up as Whimpy played it almost perfectly.
Something I want to touch on really quick before we get into this downstairs objective for Whimpy & Co. is the come-up had a much slower pace than Whimpy & Co. did. Whimpy & Co. lost many more bodies trying to take that area of Piano on their attack, but while the come-up kept most of their bodies up, it wasted so much time. I don't think they were all the way through Piano until there was only a minute or so left on the clock, so trying to pick up that pace and ensure that you have enough time on your clock left for that execute is going to be crucial for them as they shift toward this this kitchen area.
Speaking of that slow, methodical take, it's going to be Slothy droning out, see if he can't find anything. Grabbing some information. Here's another great use of that Brava drone, is being able to just grab information like cameras so you don't have to set up a flank drone. They don't really have to worry about flanking too much, as all of these players are on the first floor as far as I can tell. They're in very different places. Rethinking incredibly powerful over there on VIP. He's not showing his body. He's forcing them to swing him. And so far, they haven't really been able to take any space here on this map.
I think that comes down to the more methodical approach they're touching on, just trying to gain as much information as possible. More importantly, trying to reinforce Rethinking out of this VIP position. They're kind of locking this down right now and making sure that Freezer is going to stay as a closed bunker for the Whimpy & Co. Fighting their reception as well. It's going to be Inrio catching a little bit of damage, but nothing that won't keep him alive. And still, there's not much going on for the attack of Come Up so far. Not a whole lot of idea or space taken from them at all.
Mike W seeing if he can't find that space that he hasn't been able to find just yet. But come up's very slow as they're going to find two. Slothy not slow anymore. He finds two bodies on site. They've been very powerful on this red hole before Turbo's able to shut that down. There's another player here, Fins. It's going to be over there as Nylek and the player following him are trying to see if they can't get this space. And it's going to be Turbo to shut down this push once more.
Good for 3 now, Turbo. He's been the ace in the hole here for Whimpy and Co. Rethinking picks up one for himself as the come-up is on the back of Mike W. 12-4 so far, but not going to make it 13-4 as Bino at close range with a shotgun secures a decisive round for Whimpy and Co.
I have to say, every time I see Turbo's name, the only thing I can remember is, do you remember that Disney movie, or Pixar, was it Pixar movie with a snail?
The snail? The snail?
The snail! That's the only thing I can think of.
Oh, boy.
I don't know why. But I just wanted to get that off my chest, so I wasn't thinking about that for the rest of the game. But I mean, he was able to do a really good job of taking those fights and preventing the trade, because he would peek in long enough to get that kill and then just peek right back out, find a safe space in a place that's pretty hard to do. Right there on that window, you don't have a whole lot of room to move around in, because you have to worry about the rotate that they've set in what we consider main breach right there between bakery and kitchen, and the head holes that he was fighting in red hole, and the the big window right there in kitchen service. It's really hard to play out of, and he did an incredible job of keeping himself alive there.
Heading now to this tertiary site once more. It's going to be reading and dining. And I think on the defense of the come-up, so far everyone has had a pretty okay time on this site, better than you would think. It's been a relatively even match so far, but for Whimpy and Co, I'd really like to see them worry about that vertical play a little bit more. I think the come-up has kind of adapted to that so far, not making some of the mistakes that Whimpy and Co had made on their attack, but it's this late game that they find themselves struggling. So I think taking the slow and methodical approach that they have been, but maybe pushing those gaps that you find just a little bit sooner could be their solution here.
Everything is going to back off that window when he gets pushed off. That's Whimpy looking to see if he can find a little bit of information, but there's nothing over there, as they're all on the roof right now, or over by Mike W. To see if he can't find his way in, just creating a little bit of pressure, trying to see if he can't force a fight right now, because as we know, Mike W is going off right now. He's 12-5, doing a good job, but it's going to be Fins to pick up the first one of the round, as he just takes out Whimpy.
Did he wallbang Whimpy with the... Oh my goodness.
Oh, yes, because he's playing IQ. Oh, that's beautiful. He shot him through the window.
Oh,
Yeah,
that's such a
through
good play there.
Oh, no,
my
maybe it was
god.
a floor bang. Maybe it was a floor bang. I don't know. It actually probably was a floor bang, but yeah.
Nonetheless, that's the pulse off the board. No worries for the Nitro Cell anymore. You still have to contend with these mirror windows upstairs, though. They do have the Habana, try and open those up as best as they can, but trying to control this top floor is going to be crucial in setting up the late round execute that they've pretty much gone for every round so far. Nades from Mike W are going to shift this mirror into a little bit of an uncomfortable spot, not quite going to take out Turbo. Rethinking from bottom pillar is going to take the kill onto Mike W, and once again, it's the come-up stumbling as they enter this late round.
They haven't found an answer except for Whimpy. Same for, like I said, the information off the board, but it hasn't mattered a whole lot because they still have those mirror windows that they can play off of. Finn's looking to see if he can't find Turbo walking back. Nylek's gonna walk up, see if he can't potentially help Joe get this bomb down. Finn's gonna back up as Joe's gonna swing, and the mirror's gonna walk up for some reason.
Why did he push?
And she's gonna be off the board. 40 seconds left, and they're still not on site.
I'm not sure why Turbo pushed there. They now have full control of vertical. This is a bunker now from Whimpy & Co. on the objective itself, though. That is going to be very difficult to deal with, and they don't have much time to take it either. Looking toward this laundry hatch, potentially trying to push them out through there, and still, there isn't a whole lot of site presence. So, this means that they could potentially sneak a diffuser down here. Joe is going to drop into pillar. Not quite sure where Bino is. The diffuser's going to start going in down. Flank hold from Vezadron is going to hold him down in sight. They're going to stop the diffuser from going down. Fens isn't going to find the trade. It's 2 for Enrio, and it's a, once again, lost round in favor of Whimpy and Co.
And I do want to point out something that I did say, in our personal chat. I do think he ended up walking away from that mirror because it got cleared. It got blown up, and so
Oh, I didn't see that.
in my opinion, if I was him, I'm trying to catch them off guard. They know that I'm sitting there. They think that bar has been cleared. They've droned it a couple times, and they know that I was playing out of cocktail. That window's dead. Let me see if I can't get up into a better position. And if Joe hadn't swung there, that would have cost the round even harder than it already did. And so I think it was a good play coming out from Turbo. He's a player that so far has been able to play in these kind of weird or restrictive spaces and make the best of it. It's something I definitely want to highlight him for. He's been doing an incredible job on this Mira. But that's not to say that he's carrying the team. I mean, you have Enrio kind of being that solid link to help them cover up any of the weaknesses that they've had. And so far, there really haven't been a whole lot of weaknesses in this Whimpy defense.
The problem for both these teams so far has seemingly just been the attack. On the top floor here, it's been trying to get that space in piano without getting traded. On that mid floor, it's trying to take control of the vertical play without, contending with those mirrors for the majority of the round and leaving no time for the diffuser to get down as a whole. So for both of these teams, the solution has been the defensive half as a whole. We're so much more comfortable on defense. On attack, we can't find these openings. So Come Up is going to have to try and change that narrative so far. Pick up a round here or two, really spawn out where the weaknesses in Whimpy & Co.'s defense are, and more importantly, decisively push them. I think both these teams on their attack faced an issue of indecision when it comes to what they actually wanted.
And something I said at the half here, do you see what Mike W's doing? He's getting on that cocktail window. He did it once before. Well, he was. When I said it, he was getting on the cocktail window. I guess he decided not to. But he's at least opened that window. Gave them that possibility of, hey, they could walk up or rappel up behind me, and so I can't play as safe off of that mirror window, even though he's going to be back up there, and they don't have anyone to hold it right now, as Mike W is trying to see if he can't find his way in towards the bottom of New Balk. Or Heaven, sorry.
Looking for Whimpy here. He's been kind of skirting around in that area of pillar, now lying bottom whites, and this is something I believe we saw both of these teams do. More importantly, Whimpy, it was Inrio on red stairs last time they played this vertical site, and now it's Whimpy on white as well, but this information game is going to eventually force him out. Now pinned in this area of laundry, Nylek forced to fight him, and he currently has no support. A 1v1 that he's going to have to take. Pre-fire comes through, tags Nylek on the shoulder a little bit, and it's just a duel of the fates right now. Rethinking is going to find a little bit of ground upstairs as they pick off Slothy, but Whimpy still hasn't been taken out. It is just stalling even more time in laundry. And now, it's a minute left on the clock. It's 2 picks upstairs now, and you have no actual foothold into the objective. Even worse now as Whimpy takes out Nylek.
I think the funniest part of that, as Mike W is going to find one on the Whimpy, is the fact that, I don't know if you saw it, but Whimpy had an impact in his hand. He could have just walked to the library. But he wanted to take that fight because I think he realized that Nylek didn't have anyone to really help. They didn't have anyone nearby. As Joe's just going to walk up. He's going to find the first one on to Andrio. Look and see if he can find a second one as Mike W repelled in when I wasn't paying attention. But Bino's going to take out Joe in what could have possibly been a very rough round for Whimpy & Co.
That was a tomfoolery round, if I do say so myself. A little bit of shenanigans there, if I do say so. Some hijinks, perhaps, even, yes. I don't know what happened there for the come-up, how they lost 2 on that vertical take before Nylek even started pressuring Whimpy, which that in alone was a time suck of itself. Whimpy did a great job at just playing his life downstairs and even eventually finding the kill onto Nylek, but the issue is once again fighting against that timer for both these teams on attack. For Whimpy & Co., it was going too fast against that timer, and essentially just pushing directly into the stacked utility and setup of the come-up. And for the come-up, it's playing so methodically that you don't have any tangible presence as you enter that mid to late round. Once again, nearly a minute left on the clock. I think it was 1:10, and they just started clearing those Azami barricades to pressure Piano, and that was after losing 2 picks off dry peeking directly into the objective.
Yeah, I think it's been a while since I've heard this one. But I heard someone a while back say that sometimes for some teams, time is the sixth man. And so far, it's the sixth man for Whimpy and Co. As they've been doing a good job of just slowing down come up, forcing them to take these, like you said, these late round, like 30-second pushes that has just not really been working for them. Every single time that they try to do it, they're just gonna have to dry peek, and they're out of utility. It's just been rough for come up.
Hoping they can find some space this round. Once again, a lot of presence across the entire board so far. Something we saw both of these teams kind of opt for. Slothy pressuring that reception side, having, of course, the Buck try and move upstairs and play that verticality, cutting off that service, and it's evident that, of course, these are good ideas, right? Obviously, we all play Siege, we know that pushing different areas is a smart thing, but something I think they're struggling with is then shifting your focus on where's the actual gap. Once we get a pick or two, or once we get the information, which area is going to be the easiest to push off of out of these 3 so far?
As Bino is holding his own in reception, he's going to be able to fall back to Whimpy, and Wimpy's going to find one on the Fins. Alex going to find one on the Turbo to keep that man count even. They've already been able to clear a few players out of these crucial spots. Rethink is going to retake that space in VIP, almost taking the head off of Mike W. They've been able to push all of these players over towards bar side. They had anyone walking up Bakery like it looks like Joe wants to do. He only has one body that he's got to contend with. And it looks like they're potentially starting to make this push over towards Bakery. Bino walking back over. Could help support this Bakery hold.
Nilek's going to shift the focus here a little bit, finds that first pick they need to fully secure that Bakery area and gain man advantage back to the attackers, but Mike W is still playing this cutoff toward that whiskey area, toward that dining area, making sure there's no rotate back to site. Whimpy finds Joe on the cross as he looks into the objective, and now Nilek is stranded by himself as Bakery as he try and find some more ground, and it's a stalemate once again. Whimpy really doesn't want to give the come up anything because they know that the come up has gotten a few picks in the past, specifically Slothy on this Bakery window, and they're just waiting for anything right now. Mike W's finally pushed into white. Nilek is still working this Bakery side, and it is a literal standstill across this map right now as they try and find any information onto Whimpy and Co. 30 seconds left on the clock. Rethinking still playing in VIP. Pre-fire into Mike W. He lands a shot, but Rethink's gonna find a couple more and takes him out. Slothy now crept all the way through. Wants to trade Mike W, but doesn't quite check his back. Siege timing at its finest. It's Bino. Nilek alone in sight, and Whimpy and Co. takes Cafe.
An absolutely crazy reverse sweep. As at half, we were down 2-4. Whimpy and Co. came back and won 5 rounds in a row. They didn't drop a single defense, and kind of showing us what reason that these ex-Arial Rise players decided to come and play Cafe. I mean, attack was rough. I won't sugarcoat it. There was a lot of mistakes. But they cleaned it up on defense, and the way that they were playing off of trades, it was very fun to watch. Even though it was just a rough thing, kind of heartbreaking to see Come Up lose in that way.
Good show of force, though, from Come Up. Definitely capable, and more importantly, definitely has a response to some of those ideas that Arial is, or the ex-Arial Whimpy and Co. rather, were bringing. So, as we take a short break and shift to our next map here, we'll see if the Come Up can take it back.
kill the operation. It ain't fair, but I feel like we're the nation. So raise the flag and do the preparation. Welcome to reality, there's no way back. Welcome to reality. Can't fuck with that. Yeah, it's okay to be on top like forever, man. This is hard fucking beeping after aliens. We on top of the world, we the sapiens. Do you understand massive complication there? Do you really think you know what I'm made of? My flow is so magical, I'm old, call me Gandalf. You can shine, but I'm about to go off. Heard me wanna believe what I'm saying, but I cannot do this at all. Welcome to reality, there's no way back. 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 Welcome to reality, there's no way back.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Goose Chase League quarterfinals match tonight between it was the come up as well as Whimpy and Co. I'm not sure why I forgot the names there for a second, but we
Okay.
just swiftly finished map 1 on Cafe with the come up getting reverse swept into fashion from Whimpy and Co.
And you know what? You know what they're gonna be in this next map here, Swan? They're gonna be on the come up. I
Oh,
had to. I'm sorry.
oh, are
I
they
had
now?
to. I had to.
That's
Probably.
low
I
hanging
don't
fruit
know.
in
We'll find it. We'll
Paris.
find
That's
it.
a
It
low
was very
hanging
low
fruit.
hanging fruit. I had to take it though. I mean, it's free fruit. What can I say?
It's on the ground, man.
But I mean, speaking of free things, that last half was pretty free there for Wimpy and Co.
I would tend to agree. I think
Oh.
that that once again the problem simply for both these teams was finding ground on the attack for different reasons. Granted, for Wimpy and Co, it was kind of just playing directly into the utility and pacing set by the come up. They seemed off focus and off kilter. They weren't catching great timings and were really, once again, playing directly into the hands of the come up. And for the come up, it was essentially the opposite issue of playing way too slow, and while being methodical and trying to clear the utility of a team like Wimpy and Co is good, you can't waste that precious time and eventually lead yourself to get locked out during those late executes.
Yeah, I mean, you would get to the last 30 seconds of the round, and they're finally walking through the doorway into sight with 2 bodies alive versus 4. There were a couple of really close rounds, but that wasn't some miraculous play by come up. It was individual skill. And you can only rely on that so far, especially against a roster like Wimpy and Co. Players that individually, each player has that clutch factor. It's not the answer. You need to find a different answer. And I mean, maybe come up is going to be able to find it here on Bank.
And speaking of Bank, this map is really going to be interesting, particularly for Wimpy and Co. This isn't a map they're particularly comfortable on in history. I think it was
No.
their game against SSG ACAD where they lost something to the odds of, I believe it was either 7-3 or 7-2. So while Come Up may have lost that first map on Cafe, this may be their chance to kind of bring it back. And I'm hoping for Wimpy and Co that they've analyzed some of the mistakes they made, can start realizing what some of their areas of issue were, and kind of apply it to this round and try and move that momentum that they have from their previous victory forward.
Yeah, I'm really interested to see what these bans are going to be, because I'm going to be honest, if I don't see a Mira ban, someone's throwing. The way that Turbo was playing in that last one, if Come Up don't ban it, it's going to be rough. But before we're actually going to be able to see those bans, we're going to take a quick break and we'll be back with a game.
Been trying to change what I've been trying to say. Words don't come straight from my head to my mouth. It's such a shame that it fell out of place. Was never me that was bringing you down. Why we always looking for more? Why we always looking for more? what you wanted. I wish that I could change what you wanted. I wish that I could change what you wanted. I wish that I could change what you wanted. I wish that I could change what you wanted. I wish that I could change what you wanted. I wish that I could change what you wanted. I wish that I could change what you wanted. Why we always looking for more? Why we always looking for more? Why we always looking for more?
Sorry about that short break, folks, as we now can finally get into map 2, and more importantly, the bands that you were so excited for, Interritus. What were you expecting to see, or what are you expecting to kind of change as we move into Bank?
Well, we're probably gonna say the Yingdo Kebi. I would be willing to bet a lot of money as Ying's gonna go ahead and be off the board. Dokebi's most likely to follow. Solus wouldn't be a surprising one. But like I was saying before, if Come Up don't ban this Mira, there's gonna be a lot of question marks in my head at the very least.
Mira being a power operator on the last map, of course, the applications upstairs on that top floor site, as well as down into the areas of kitchen, have similar applications here. More importantly, down on that server and server and CC area, trying to cut that off and deny that default plant. So I think for Whimpy and Co, it could definitely be a power operator that they want to leave on the board. Let's see if Come Up finds the response you're looking for, though. Gonna opt for the Valkyrie once again. Not a ban I hate, but I do think you're right in that the Mira, especially starting off with Whimpy and Co on defense, would have been a better ban.
I think against any other team, that would have been fine. But after that last game, leaving the Mira on the board, I have question marks. Finner are going to be falling as well. One, I'm also not surprised about. I wouldn't have been surprised about Solus or Tuberal here either, just because you can be able to keep those hatches closed a little bit longer. But the Mira is still on the board. Except they're not running it.
Tirade on the Mira and her strength, only for her to not be presented. How do we feel? How do we feel in Interritus? No Mira. Nonetheless, there is still plenty of utility on the defensive side. More importantly, I do like the Jaeger actually being brought. There's been a few times now that there's flashbangs and, more importantly, those frag grenades have cleared out crucial positions. And granted, at the time, it was the Miras, but now I think it will be the Goyo canisters being brought by the side of Whimpy and Co. So it's going to be kind of up to the Come Up to hopefully learn their mistakes from the last attack, right? Trying to swiftly take that space. Trying, if once you've cleared an area with your drones, actually start shifting toward that objective, especially on basement, where getting that verticality is going to be crucial to your take.
I'm sorry, I'm still out of it. The fact that they didn't bring Mira.
Seething?
I'm seething. Mira. I'm coping. I'm gonna cope real quick. But it's fine. They're gonna be playing something else. Alex just gonna walk in and kill Whimpy. He's already off the board. One early pick for Come Up, as they're playing incredibly aggressive. Something that we didn't get to see in that last one. They were dealing with the clock, and so far they're not dealing with it anymore. As Nilex's gonna have to deal with the gunfire coming from him, but Sloth's gonna be able to get the kill back onto Inrio, and they're back up in that man count.
Both these teams wasting no time to get into these gunfights. It's going to heed in favor of the Come Up, and I think even more with this vertical play still intact. None of the hatches are reinforced, might I add. Neither of the main two hatches in this open area or small office position were reinforced, and with Nilex swiftly getting in there and being able to take off that roaming player of Whimpy, they have vertical play for free. Now, you can hold this vertical play, start shifting your players toward that area of blue, and start setting up this cutoff to potentially get that plant down. You do have the Goyo utility to worry about, although Twitch still being on the board will slow that down a bit, but I like this vertical retake play coming out, although Fens is going to quickly shut that down with a headshot onto Bean. Rethinking, still looking for more though.
May not know he's there, as he's going to find the first one of Sloth. He's going to find another one before finally getting traded out by Joe. And a beautiful repick through that wall. But it doesn't matter. He's already dealt that damage. Now, Turbo only has to find 2 players. Currently separated. Joe upstairs and Mike W sitting inside of server. If Joe can get out of this hatch safely, make it a lot harder. But he has bomb. He can't just hold for Mike W. He's going to have to drop down. He's going to go ahead and drop and start planning on the soft wall, or the hard wall, excuse me. Just going to be Turbo looking to see if he can't shut him down, as he's going to find one onto Mike W before finally taking out Joe.
What?
Finishing off this round.
How do you let that happen? I mean, first things first, what an explosive round one as we move on to Bank. Come up, seemingly learned their lesson. No time wasted. Within 30 seconds, Nilek was in the building and found a kill on the 2. That was, I believe, Whimpy on the Goyo, who was trying to play that verticality. And it looked great from there on out, actually. They were securing that vertical control. They were starting to move toward servers, like I noted earlier. But then, for whatever reason, that shift upstairs and those 2 picks that were found by the Jaeger really shook them up a bit. And I think Mike not having Case there... Mike having Case would have just been the end-all be-all of that round. Plant on the default, plant safe, you got the Echo Cam off the board, and now you can just have your vertical player from the hatch, wait for the Echo to walk through, and secure the round. But since he doesn't have Diffuser, you're forced to drop, plant on that hard wall, and Turbo is able to isolate those 1v1s to an excellent degree, and secure the round for Whimpy and Co.
I gotta say, real quick, I love that Frost Bat, just putting it at the top of those stairs right there. Absolutely don't care, because we all know, Swan, that Siege players don't look down.
I'm not checking that. Not in a million years.
No. I'd look straight at it and go, there's nothing there. But it's going to be up to come up to drone it out. And so far, they've been droning out incredibly well. They've been doing a good job of finding space. And Nilek been this player that generally I don't see right there in the front lines, just absolutely dry peeking everything. Did it in that first round and almost helped come up, pick up a round.
You should be very happy here, Interritus. Look what Bino's bringing.
Amira, finally, but it's top floor.
Yeah. Still, good strategy here. They're going to really have to heavily hold this janitor, essentially kill box that Bino finds himself in. Losing that position really loses a very strong foothold. That is what is looking to be the basis of the site hold here for Whimpy and Co. That is going to be crucial for them to hold on to. The Flores will make that a little bit more difficult, as it seems like once again, a pretty stock standard take coming out from the come up. Having square control here within the first minute, Fen's able to spot that player out near stock. Not going to find the shots to connect, though, as Whimpy is just peeking out these double windows, really wanting to find this pick and shut down that presence from that stock side.
Whimpy's going to be holding it down, like you said, preventing that presence over there from them, but Fins is going to be seeing if he can't find anything, because he's got that long wall open. So he can't find anyone. Slothy jumping in, find a little bit of space here in stock.
Oh my god.
Almost loses his life to some stray bullets, but he's going to be able to keep himself alive, intact that space. And now they're pushing them back towards this kill box that you talked about. Trying to see if they can't find him, as Fins is going to find one under rethinking, and they're just absolutely crushing Whimpy's space here on site.
Constricting these defenders into sight, putting them in a very uncomfortable position. Not a whole lot of ground gained yet, but this pressure that they have onto the defense of Whimpy and Co. is mounting, and it is forcing them into some pretty difficult spots to play around. You mentioned it earlier, that kill box that we see Bino playing out of is going to be a very strong position that Fens is now going to clear. That opens up so much potential here for the come-up. Slothy should be able to walk in for free. A nice cross, though, from the Wamai is going to shut that down, and now that is your case cold. And once again, the timer is the worst enemy of the come-up. Whimpy able to find a second two, and he's not stopping. He wants even more on top square. slowing down a little bit more. They're gonna recuperate. Inrio finds Fanzetron as he rotates out on the balcony, and what was a terrible position for Whimpy and Co. is now back to a 2v2. Inrio still shifting around stock. Whimpy on a crossfire. Mike W vaulting through. Still has to find Inrio, though. Doesn't know where he went. The hatch is open. He dropped all the way downstairs, and no time to plant. It is going to be Inrio with an excellent clutch.
And come up, running into that time again. So it's their mortal enemy here. As Whimpy, like I said, is just gonna Whimpy and Co. are gonna be able to drop that hatch, and Inrio, and just be able to keep himself alive and grab themselves another round in what could have gone either way. They did a really good job of kind of compressing the players back in top floor, but I mean, they couldn't find the kills. They couldn't find the trades. They were getting taken out. And it's weird to see, especially because they had control of conference. There was a mirror going directly into that kill box that we were talking about. It took way too long for Whimpy to fall when you have a mirror line of sight onto him.
And I tend to agree with that. I'm really not sure how Whimpy and Co. worked their way around that. It looked like an infallible position there for the come-up. Even though the timer was against them and they were very methodical in their take once again, it's the same old story we said, but the power of constricting Whimpy and Co. into sight was something that we really hadn't seen applied. It was usually all for naught. But Whimpy and Co. just weaved their way through every gun of the attack and somehow worked their way out of, I think it was 3 picks on the back of Whimpy playing that Soul Mira, and I think losing that case was the major proprietor of that shutdown. Moving now to a tertiary site, though, downstairs into this open area and kitchen, site. Let's hopefully see Come Up adapt to this a little bit more and try and play a little bit of a cutoff.
Inrio is gonna find one of the Slothy before he finally gets traded out on that jump out, but it's gonna be the damage already done, as there's no RAM on the board anymore. They can't open up those floors that they were hoping to do. They're gonna have to rely on Nilek, and they don't have any sort of backup here. Mike W is about the only one who can open up anything, and Whippy's looking to shut down that. But it's gonna be able to stay alive as Nilek doesn't lose his body, and Whimpy's able to fall back. But now they know he's up there, and they're gonna have to clear him.
This man has no fear in him right now. I'm pretty sure as soon as there has been any presence that hasn't been like an active contest against him, his immediate reaction is to swing and try and take the space for himself. And it's been really putting a lot of pressure onto the come-up. I will note, though, that they have a pretty interesting position. They're walked in all the way bottom square. They could potentially walk right into open here. They're trying to clear this area of archives as well as recontain this vert. Nilek is going to shut down Whimpy, and that's a huge opening now for the come-up.
That's a lot of the top floor clear, but they do still have that player over towards stock. I think he's in archives. He's going to shut down the push from Fens. And that was that player down bottom square that you were talking about that could have potentially walked in. Bino's going to jump out, but he's going to be able to fall back, and Mike W doesn't find him. Mike's going to go ahead and go towards that base, or the garage, excuse me, and see if he can't find him. But Joe's going to find one onto Rethinking. And they're going to be able to take a little bit more sight presence here, as Nilek is right above. Is going to get this hatch open and see if they can't clear out these last 2 players for Whimpy and Co.
They do have to be wary, though. Taking those lessons learned from rounds previous and not letting Whimpy and Co. isolate these 1v1s and find these picks. They have to have a clear idea of where they want to end. Whimpy and Co. getting ever so pressured on the site. That castle barricade is going to be open, but look at this. They're just not afraid to swing whatsoever. Bino looking toward that archives player. Caught on an awkward angle, though. Joe now is going to leave Turbo in a 1v3. Doesn't have the mirror window to play with. That is going to be popped later, but a disgusting shot. Make it 2 for Turbo. He's making something out of nothing. Nilek trying to creep into the site. Knows he's pinned behind that soft wall, spots out his back, and Turbo almost making greatness, but the come-up finally able to pick out a solution.
And almost a little bit of deja vu from that first round there, and what should have been a very easy come-up game round, but it came down to Nilek to have to clutch it there, and very, very questionable taking those solo fights. I'll give it to Joe. he shot through a softball. There was no way Joe could have really done a whole lot other than shooting back. But there's no line of sight. He got lucky on that kill. Even though you have to give it to him to know where that doorway is, knowing exactly where it is and being able to shoot at it, knowing that the trade is potentially coming your way, shows kind of the way that Turbo's playing right now, and that's well. All 4 of his kills have been in clutch factors, where the first 2 were in that first round to win that clutch out, and in that last one getting those last 2, so they could have potentially pulled that one before Nilek finished it. And so far, he's been kind of that stable player, right at the last man standing kind of situation, who can close out that round for Whimpy and Co.
Speaking of Whimpy and Co., as they move downstairs to the basement, they aren't going to bring the Mira again. And I think, as I saw earlier, they're leaving these hatches. I'm going to bite my tongue, actually. It looks like they're opting to reinforce that. I was so confused.
It's the two open areas. It's on purpose. The point is you can retake and prevent the plan.
Certainly, I just didn't know if they were going to shift up the strategy, and I'm going to be real, I thought he was reinforcing the open hatch there. As soon as I saw it unreinforced, and I was like, oh, I'm just entirely wrong. Nonetheless, looks like a little bit of a different perspective here from the come-up. Mike W on the O side, trying to find this gap in garage.
Joe's going to be making his way over as they're just full split pushing. Nilek potentially just going to drop into Gold Vault. So is Finn's. They're going to take it. I don't think they have anyone back here. No, wait. Turbo's still on cams. He's going to swing this corner directly to Turbo. He's to your left. Please look. Whoa. They don't know that Turbo's still up behind there in Gold Vault. As Turbo's going to find one looking for a second one. He's going to find him. And they didn't check their corners. That could have been very good for come up, but they didn't check the back of Gold Vault. And so they've lost all of that pressure that they just had.
The turbo gap of the century, not clearing behind gold bars fully. That is 2 free picks and a rush that looked very fortuitous, now stranding them in a 1v3. Mike W brings it down just because of that, but still, he's alone in garage, no diffuser in hand, and still has to contend with all 3 of these very strong gunners of Whimpy & Co. It's just disaster for come up, if I'm being honest. Not clearing that corner was the only thing that has lost in this round so far. That hatch drop looked really, really nice. They had so much pressure. Turbo able to just sit behind there. I'm not sure how they didn't clear it or just chose not to clear it. And Rethinkin's going to make sure that it was all for everything, in fact, as they secure another round.
I mean, it looked like it could have been very good, but like you said, they didn't clear that corner. I'm like, oh yeah, they're gonna get the kill, and then they're gonna swing it.
Wee bit of a
and then we swapped the Turbo's perspective, and he's finished off the first player of, I think it was no, because Finn's died second. It was what, Slothy with him? No, it was Nilek with him. He clears out Nilek, and then Finn's is mid reload. There's not much you can really do about that. They didn't clear their corners. They didn't clear their corners. That's all it was. There's honestly, I think that was an incredible round from come up. They just didn't clear the corners. That's the only thing I really think they have to take from that last round. Also, just drop Mira and Vito in the hatch. He did not care that Vito was on that hatch.
Scurrying his way back upstairs, as Whimpy & Co is going to move upstairs after a one of the victories of all time. That is for sure. One of the round wins that could happen in Rainbow Six Siege. Excellent work from Turbo there, and once again, the issue of attack seems to hold true for the come-up. They had that one really, really nice round. Last round, once again, looked great. Clear your corners, lesson learned. But every single time, it seems they have such good pressure and control on these objectives, specifically on this top floor. And then they lost case to that right side breach, and from then on, it was 1v1s toward the favor of Whimpy, and Arial was sitting in stock. So I'd really like to see a more cohesive push if they're looking for a plant, or more importantly, just ensuring that you have those trades set up to back up those players in case they get taken down.
You know, I mentioned this when I was casting with our producer Nomical. You know who they look like, Swan?
Oomst.
They look like XGS Season 5 OG. That's who they look like right now.
Interesting.
And the last time they played Skyscraper is the same thing, where you have these incredible plays where the decision making is there, and then they pull like a Cloud9 and throw, not checking their corners, walking into places without actually fully clearing it. It's minor things that are costing the entire round because it is shutting down the push, and they just can't really recover from it.
And Whimpy and Co. is no stranger to reclaiming space. They're so unafraid to swing and put pressure on the come up that those little mistakes turn into an absolute mile taken from Whimpy and Co. And once again, they're going to take the first pick. Mike W. A very strong gunner last map, not quite able to find as much this map as well. Rethinking picks up 2 on reforming players, and once again for the come up, it is seemingly disaster. Whimpy finds the kill onto Nylik, and Fend is going to take a little bit of a break on the roof.
I guess we're in Wimpy's world, and if you look at the Irish's what's it called, status, we're in his world, and I'm just fishing in it. I mean, they're just not here, especially in that last run. They like I said, they have these incredible plays, and they're very smart takes. Like, I'm watching it, the calls are being made as Wimpy's gonna take out Fens. But like I'm saying, the calls are being made, and there's nothing wrong with the idea of the pushes that they've been making. There's just minor things here and there, like the fact that you're just letting Rethinking kind of walk around inside of Trump or Secretary, whatever you want to call it, and just not trading him. I mean, I feel like I'm talking about the Mira band. It's question marks. Like, what is going on from Come Up as like an individual level?
I'd agree. I think it kind of comes down to the individual here. That's a really good point, actually. Of when it comes to the strategy, the Come Up is we've touched on it so much. They're so poised. They have such great like overall like aggressive takes, not even aggressive, just oppressive takes onto Whimpy and Co., where it's this idea of we're going to pressure them and box them in and cut them off and then find all the picks we need, but specifically the gun skill of Whimpy and Co. completely throws that out the window. Anytime the come up peaks anything, it seems Whimpy and Co. has a response in the form of a peak, and losing those gunfights and kind of tossing those crucial picks, Rethinking just simply should not be allowed to pick up 2 there. I understand playing those windows are important. I understand what the idea was to try and cut off the site, but eventually you have to just... You can't let those picks go the wayside of Whimpy and Co. because it's crucial to your strategy that you keep those bodies up.
I mean, I think they really got to start rethinking the way they're playing. Finger guns?
Low hanging fruit again, man. The apple's rotten in Interritus. It's on the ground. Shouldn't have picked it up. Oh my god.
Oh my god, Whimpy's just gonna walk out and find a free kill. Speaking of low hanging fruit, he's gonna be able to find Nylik, that player that's been the space taker. But Slothy's gonna prevent him from doing much more, as he's gonna take out Whimpy in that trade. That's the Legion off the board, but they've lost that player, Nylik. He's gonna get shot with the Twitch drone. He didn't even see the Twitch drone. He still shot.
Well, I mentioned that Whimpy and Co., at least the former ex-Arial roster, struggled on this map in the past. That is just not the case in this map at all. They have been dominating so far, and in all reality, they're just completely setting the pace of this match. The come-up has had no opportunity to actually fulfill their strategy. When they try to, it's an immediate gunfight response from Whimpy and Co., and which we're going to see even more of. Rethinking, playing in archives, I'm pretty sure every single round the site has been played so far and has been good for 1 every single round. Slothy ties it up, though, with a pick onto Arial, and this match is seemingly slowed down a little bit more.
Yeah, I mean, we talked about it a little bit in that first map of the fact that it just looks like Whimpy isn't really respecting come up. And I mean, to be fair, with the way that they're playing right now, I'm not surprised. They're mega swinging things that most players would be hesitant to. Bino's gonna walk up blue stairs. Could be very dangerous here. Rethinking able to help him out. And Turbo's just... Oh, I thought he was about to jump out. Turbo's gonna keep himself alive, be able to play off of that printer. But like I was saying, I don't think Whimpy and Co. are really respecting them too much. They're willing to take these fights that most players would be a little bit too hesitant to take. And come up right now, speaking of hesitation, they're kind of hesitating. They haven't really been able to clear out this archives or much of the first floor. And Slothy's going to be trying to make his way in, but they only have 30 seconds left. They've got to hurry up.
It seems pick up the pace they shall. Slothy using that vertical play in conjunction as his teammate to take out Rethinkin, but they still have to actually make their way into the objective. This is where we've seen the majority of their rounds fall apart so far. They have the Echo drones to deny the plant. He can just stay tucked in that corner and wait. And yet, they still yet to enter the objective. Joe finally spots out the Echo, and Slothy looks for a cross, but all the way from downstairs is Bino, as he's going to try and support his teammate on the upper floor. Joe whips out the Goo Needle, should get the plant down in time, but now Bino has to find it and to come up. While it looked a little scary, able to clinch out that round.
I have to mention it. We're at the same exact halftime as last map. 2-4.
Deja vu.
Deja vu. 2-4. 5 rounds in a row from come up. It's not gonna happen though. But you know, I'll bite my tongue if they do end up being able to do that in what was a little bit of a better round from come up. I mean, I think it was more, like I said, Whimpy and Co not respecting them and just kind of throwing bodies and stuff. Like you saw at the beginning of the round, Whimpy walking out of electrical closet, taking that first kill, and just almost getting out. He dead ran out. Like he wasn't like, oh, I'm like 3 feet from the door. They made him ran around the fence, shot the guy, and walked back, and still didn't take a shot back. I don't know. It's small things like that. That it's Whimpy and Co having a lot more freedom than they really should be, because Kamop's just letting them. They're letting them have all this space, and like you said earlier, retaking it. I know Whimpy and Co are a team that are incredibly fast at retaking space, but you have to fight them. You have to take away some of that freedom, and it didn't really happen. So that's why we're here at this 2-4 half. Come up, they have their chance now. It's defense. It's bank.
Similar defense to what we saw Whimpy and Co bring on their defensive half. A little bit of an adaptation, sealing one of those hatches and keeping the other open, but they're really going to have to disrupt the attack here and kind of play their game. You said it perfectly. You can't let them just continue to abuse this space. You have to get in their face. You have to be willing to take the risk to punish something. And more importantly, you really, and this is the most boring color note of all time, but you have to win your gunfights. You really have to be able to find picks on Whimpy and Co here, because it seems that you are just throwing away bodies and not able to find much of anything. And on that note, Whimpy and Co is going to start taking this vertical floor, opening up some of these vertical holes, as well as pressuring out this roam with 3 players, including a Jackal, pushing them further down.
Slothy almost losing his life as they're coming up onto him, opening that hatch as well. He's going to fall back to one of those open area hatches, but they've actually closed the one inside of admin closet. They're still going to have to fight for it, but they can fall back off of the open area with that one hatch right behind the cubicle. Bino looking to see if he can't find one. Expecting the swing coming out from blue, but it's not going to happen just yet. Mike hasn't decided to get aggressive just yet. He's waiting for a player to walk up on him. Looking to maybe get aggressive here soon. But he's just wasting time right now. A minute 20 on the clock. Mike's still very pressuring. Very much pressure coming out from him right there on that blue stairs.
The roam did the job they exactly wanted to do. While they haven't found a pick, they disrupted the attack enough. They really don't have a lot of space. They're now opening these hatches, but still, 5 players up, all of your Goyo utility, and Mike W locking down the area of server, although the caster curse is going to be absolutely real as he gets taken out, and now it's Joe all the way in server on his lonesome. He's going to be the glue that kind of holds this round together. He's in the position where he has to shut this down, find a pick, slow this down even further. He's going to do just that. Whimpy gets taken down by Joe. A quick trade from Inrio, though, was now they're going to open this wall up and go for that default plant. But here comes the Goyo canisters, the stall utility that Whimpy and Co did not account for because they were so worried about that roam. And with the Twitch off the board, that leaves even more of these canisters up. They are going to have these hatches. That should allow them to get this plant down. I think they will have just enough time to start it with one impact in pocket for Nylike. Bino's going to drop right in, though, after finding a pick. Try and disrupt this even more. It's 2 for him as they scramble onto the site. He gets down by the Goyo canister, not quite able to stop the Plantis fence. In fact, he has no clue where it's going on. Now, Turbo gonna rotate all the way back upstairs. Inrio's just gonna lay down in sight, play his lonesome, and make sure that the trade is going to come through before he takes any risky peeks. Fenzetron losing track of Turbo, spots the player on the prone, hears him moreover, and instead now it's Turbo playing this vertical. Knows he has to go for this stick, and he's looking all the way up to the 3rd floor. That's where he's assuming this defense is coming from, but Turbo's just going to try and waste his time. He goes for the stick. Turbo's not giving him much of anything. Fens, it's looking like the end of the road, my friend, as Turbo secures it.
And getting closer to securing this map 2 here for Whimpy and Co. It's definitely was a fight there in that last one. No deja vu, sadly, here, Swan, as Whimpy and Co. are going to be able to pick up that first round. But it could have gone up towards Come Up's way. If they didn't have those smokes, I really don't see who planted there? Bino in the corner?
I believe.
Arial in that corner. I don't think he would have been able to get that plant down. It really just came down to the wire. They got lucky with the fact that they didn't have one for right there, and the fire, it almost shut down that full attack from Come Up. Also, by the way, you did mention them having enough time. They wouldn't have. The fire is 25 seconds, and they had 18.
The fire is 25?
25 seconds.
I thought it was 15. It's 25?
25. Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah.
I could have sworn that was not the case. So yeah,
25
definitely a good idea to scramble in that corner there to try and avoid those Goyo canisters. In fact, the only solution to that problem in that case. But they're going to head back downstairs again. Hopefully looking for a little bit of a difference there. And I'm going to be honest, I think if Mike W plays a little more patient on blue there, that could have been a very, very strong position in shutting down the idea there from Whimpy and Co.
And it could have. There were a couple of other places I would like to say that they also could have shut down Whimpy and Co. Mike W on the blue series, if he didn't get traded out there, it potentially could have gone the way of Come Up. I mean, he was doing a really good job of slowing them down. I think he got a little bit too greedy. Mike W's always been a pretty aggressive player, so I'm not surprised to see it. But there are definitely some times where you got to slow down, as he's now got a shield to work with.
That should help him stall that out a little bit more. If not, kind of put it into him mentally that, okay, I literally just need to stay alive in this position. Lock this down, hold as much as I can. And Whimpy and Co. are going for almost the exact same idea we saw them have last round. Clear that room upstairs, start working your way down floor by floor, and with that, the drone's going to spot out Joe, but it's not going to be quite enough. He skirts around the corner, able to take out the knees of Rethinkin, and that's a very significant stall factor for them as they start moving into the kind of mid-game of this round. That is the buck off the board, no more vertical play. They spot out Whimpy in lobby, and now it's trying to just make sure they don't throw any more picks to the wayside.
And they're seeing if they can't shut out this player here in elevator. See if they can clear him out. But they're wasting a lot of utility to actually be able to do that. That's utility you can use. Also, there's not a player in elevator. I'm seeing ghosts. Never mind. But that's... Is it open? I don't know. Whatever. Anyway, but they waste a lot of utility they could have been using to get out on the site, and so it just makes it that much harder. As we're actually going to be able to see Joe go back towards. It looked like Joe go back towards the garage, potentially looking to see if he can't deny these hash drops.
Whimpy and Co. moving at a similar pace to last round, but this is what we need Mike to do. What I was talking about earlier, and now he has Slothy to support him as well. These smoke canisters to slow them down even further, and Mike W just sitting behind the shield with a shotgun. The deterrence measure to the take we saw them have last time. And in very similar fashion, I'm not sure if they cleared the Goyo canisters, meaning that if Whimpy and Co. is going to commit to these hatches, it can get very scary for them very quickly. But as Mike W swings out here, there's a complete lack of presence as Whimpy and Co. as they've flipped the script on the come up and have now dropped into Vault. 15 seconds left on the clock. Joe able to secure one for himself. Turbo able to swing it back though. A quick crossfire should kill the Goyo, but no, that's her case down as well. Fens with 2, Turbo all on his lonesome, and Fenzetron locking down the Vault position.
And I love to see that Vault drop, but I mean, you got to do something with it. There was, I was going to say, I was thinking like while I'm watching that, there's no Turbo in Gold Vault. I forgot. There's a Finn sitting right there, right outside of Vault. He's just sitting down there to shut him out. And it kind of seemed like whenever they kind of finally took that space, they were hesitating a little bit. They were kind of just waiting around. They were skylarking, you might say, just messing around a little bit down there in Vault, and it was rough. I mean, they were trying to find that space, and they started to, but as soon as they dropped, it felt like they were scared.
Yeah, they kind of, I think it's not what, well, very apparently, it's really not what they wanted to do at all. It was this last resort measure of, oh, our server plant that happened last time, there's now a smoke guarding the blue stairs. Mike W is not going to swing us this time and has a shield. Our only other alternative is to rotate to the opposite side of the map on the hatches we opened earlier and hot drop with minimal time left on the clock. And so they were left scrambling to find these picks, and with that, it just put them in a super uncomfortable position that Fens abused perfectly in order to secure that round for the come-up. Trying to find those adaptations, though, as they move into this mid-site, once again, open area in dining. They had some trouble securing the picks onto, I believe it was Whimpy and Co. on their defense, really shut down the come-up as they had some early progress here, so hopefully the come-up can do the same.
It's going to be up to come up to actually deny any progress that Whimpy's been making. And some really interesting setups so far coming out from Come Up. I really like to see those knee holes, I guess is what you'd consider them. Well, I mean, it's not like chest level. It's like knee level, hip level. I don't know. That's the word that came to mind. But it's also Nyleki as well. Nyleki, not Nyleki. Nylek, sitting inside of stock. A lot of these players just in power positions. Mike W tries to get a kill on Banana, but he's going to be able to get the damage out at least in a rethinking, and he's going to have to rethink where he's going to go in.
2 rethinking puns, Interritus? 2?
I'm sorry, I had to. I can make it 3.
Let's not. Speaking of 3, though, now going to be a 3v5 as they come up with a very swift response. I believe that was Slothy jumping out of the square windows to then drop into dirt and back to freedom. And now the Monty's all on his lonesome, and if Fens pushes up here, that's another free pick for them as well. Rethinking all the way on the opposite side of the map, and Whimpy not with him either. Not able to fell the Monty is going to be Slothy as he goes for an aggressive swing on that flank, and if he can regroup up with his team, there's still definitely an opportunity then for getting to the site. Rethinking is going to make that even more possible with that pick onto Nylek. Fens with a very quick response, though, making sure that they don't have that advantage for long. Whimpy, it's just a flurry of trades going out here, though. Diffuser should be back in the hands of the attack, and now they have to really find a gap to try and get to the objective. Joe, unexpected swing, takes out Rethinking, who was left on a sliver of HP, and it's Whimpy actually in the objective with no defender in sight. Could have the opportunity to get this diffuser down. Still just trying to play that information. Free Fire does go through onto the player in archives, seemingly some information onto him, but Whimpy really wants a pick here before trying to force this diffuser. That flashbang potentially being used as a sound coverage should afford him the time. No. Joe with the Nitro Cell from around the corner. He's going to skirt out of the way as he rotates to try and see where Mike W went. Not quite able to find him, though. Spots out the pick onto Joe, and now Mike W rotated back into sight. The mirror window is working against him, though. Whimpy either has to plant or force this push. He's not quite sure where Mike W is sitting, and the come-up scrambles to cover and scrambles another round.
Mike showing why he's got a W in his name is he's going to be able to grab that clutch. And what almost cost the round for come up, like potentially cost a round for come up. I think if Wimpy had been able to actually get that bomb down, I mean, he had what, like half a second left on that plant. He could have jumped into admin, fought the player inside of archives, and made it a lot harder for Joe to be able to do something. It's a bit of a 50-50 if you can actually kill that player in archives, but you want to take those solo fights when you're down. And he did end up being able to get those solo fights taken, but you gotta remember, bomb is down, so time is not on his side. It's on the defense side, and it helped Mike be able to pick up that last round.
Watch my back.
Overall, a pretty good idea of what they wanted there, and I really like how the come up played that. Even with them not having control of that objective, Mike W, ironically enough, leaving Joe there to kind of just do his own thing, and then retake that site position to have that presence would evidently end up winning them that round. A great critical eye there from Mike to try and make sure that they had some positioning in the actual objective itself, as the come up is seemingly starting to bring this back just a little bit. They've looked in pretty good form the past couple of rounds as they're going to head upstairs now.
Yeah, no, I definitely didn't talk about that, as I also don't... I was going to say something nice about Mike W, but he just jumped out and died. Of course. And Joe's dead, too. We're caster cursing them, Swan.
They're overheating.
They're overheating. Someone throw some ice on them. But in what could have been some good rounds would come up, they just start throwing. I told you! It's Overture all over again. That's what I'm feeling, Swan.
Yeah, losing 2 picks at the start of the round is not something you want to do, or honestly should have done. Mike W, a very ambitious runouts, is what I'm going to describe it as, and immediately punished. It almost looked like as they were expecting it at this point, as I think the come up has been shifting the pace into a little bit more of an aggressive style these past couple of rounds. Either that or Whimpy and Co have just been generally aware as a team, and now they can really afford to take their time, right? They have a 2-man advantage. They know they have the utility in place now in the information game, and it's all just about finding those picks and, moreover, constricting these defensive players into positions that they want them to play this man advantage.
Pino's still outside with a minute and a half left. Actually, all of these players still outside. As Wimpy's looking to see if he can't potentially jump in here. Turbo in lobby is going to get shut down by Fins, helping them even out this man count as he's going to drop. See if he can find a little bit of space. Pino finally walking into Printer. And he's going to be able to walk into Fins. Very lucky play from Bino there. Kind of just right place, right time. I like also in the right place. Is he going to be able to take out Whimpy? They're making it a little bit easier for them. The attacker not making it any easier. Slothy's going to swing, find one. Rethinking's going to find one on a Nilek. Slothy's going to be able to get away, but not without taking a little bit of damage here. And you're just going to start getting this bomb down. And it's going to be Rethinking sitting inside of Janitor, trying to shut down this angle from Slothy. But he hears him in the hallway. He's going to swing and take him out. Whippy's going to put themselves on match point.
I mean, that round should have very obviously been Wimpy's. I do appreciate the effort from come up. They picked up a couple of kills there. They started playing a little bit more aggressively to try and take that round back in their favor, but just losing 2 bodies immediately is never what you want. And I think, especially as you're now putting Whimpy and Co on match point, I don't think it was the right play at all whatsoever to try and commit to that. I do appreciate the fact, once again, that they're shifting toward kind of how we saw Whimpy and Co play on their defense, of willing to take those gunfights and willing to take that space against them. But where do we delineate taking space from throwing bodies and doing runouts and trying to find these ridiculous picks that are Hail Mary plays that could leave us on the back foot?
Yeah, I mean, there have definitely been a lot of Hail Mary plays coming out from them. And as cool as it is to kind of watch and see that kind of unfold, it's not something you want to see when you're kind of analyzing their gameplay and saying, hey, here's what I think they could do better. Also, is that a clash?
That is, in fact, a clash from Mike W.
I don't know if you remember this about me, Swan, but I love me some Clash.
Are you a Clash enjoyer?
I'm a Clash enjoyer. I'm definitely a Shield enjoyer. I love me some Monty, some Blitz, some Clash. Just because it kind of changes the way that you have to fundamentally work around that operator. You can't just gun up and shoot him.
100%, especially considering where Mike W is playing in that area of server, it's going to slow them down a lot if that blue ending is their goal. Very swift on this upstairs take. The Amaru has done wonders for Whimpy and Co. in an attempt to pretty much shut this roam game out from ever getting space on that top floor. They've had a couple of pre-placed drones. Bino's gotten all the way upstairs, as well as Buck walking in top square. It's been their stock standard hold every single time that they go to try and take this downstairs objective. And it's worked for them. An adaptation I like, though, is Inreal on the Nook. Trying to lurk around these gaps and moreover try and lean into the idea of, oh, this is our typical strategy, but here's something you didn't account for, as Nylek is going to be kind of the pillar now for the defense, trying to spot this out.
And they're seeing if they can't spot out any space in Come Up's defense. Right now, there isn't a whole lot. Finns has kind of learned, hey, gold vault is a little bit of a gap. But it's also going to be Whimpy finding the Clash in the corner. And one thing I'm not a big fan of is the fact that they don't really have a whole lot to help Mike. The only thing that can really help is on site. And when that hatch gets opened, you can't really do a whole lot to help him out, as they're just going to see if they can't clear him out or single him out. See if they can't use some grenades and potentially clear Mike W so they can get this plant down.
Mike is going to be absolutely stranded here. Joe on the crossfire, his only supporting player. And Whimpy and Co. is going to have to make a decision here. They would really like a pick. It's very obvious by that. They're playing these vertical hatches that they've opened. They're waiting for something to be given up to them. Mike W is starting to get pressured out, though. And this is what we saw. Joe's going to have to be able to hold this crossfire if they want to keep Mike W alive. It's not going to work, though. Joe able to catch a few shots onto Whimpy. Not going to be able to take him down, though. And now, with no Goyo being brought on the board this time, it's fully reliant on these smokes and these echoes in order to stop this defuser from going down. Slothy is going to take out the thermite. That is a huge pick for them, considering the fact that they're just stalling for time right now. And they still have all three smokes in pockets. First one's going to be used just now, though. And it is a full blue take. In Rio, still outside of garage, though. Could be the gap that they need to try and bring this around. But it might be too little too late. Forced to sprint here. Joe looking for the drops. They are aware of his position. Inrio not quite able to find much of anything. Free Fire comes out. They're able to take him out in garage. Defuse should go through here. Solati doesn't have the opportunity to swing. And while I thought they had a great position, it's Whimpy and Co. to close it out.
And even though it did end up not working, I really love that flank coming out of garage. I think they had a really good plan there, even though there was only 15 seconds. It was a little bit, like you said, a little bit too little, too late. But they did end up being able to get those rounds in, let's be real, something a little bit of a hero play, and them just walking in and gunning up. Like, it's not something that really should be happening with a roster like Whimpy and Co., where you should be winning it because you're playing better, not because you're shooting better.
Overall, I think this matchup was relatively even. I think it comes down to it was the issue of the attack. A lot of these teams stumbled on the attack, and in that second map, Whimpy and Co. resolved a lot of those issues, and it kind of allowed them to run away with the game, find the tempo of the come up. They had a few good rounds where they had a nice response, but that strong defensive start for Whimpy and Co., followed by a pretty decisive attacking half, is eventually going to be able to close it out for them.
Yep, and that's going to close it out for us tonight in what was a really exciting series to say. Like you said, it was a really close match, and we love to see it. But we do have some more games later in this week, as we're going to be finishing out these quarterfinals, but it's going to be Whimpy and Co. to move on towards that semifinals.
And once more, I just want to touch on this before we shut down stream for the night. Thank you all to the viewership, donations, subscribers, anything that goes toward this channel to try and repay the admins that were not paid due to the fiasco that happened with ZCL. We appreciate you. Thanks for sticking with us tonight. We will catch y'all later.
Oh,